Thank you, Chairman. And I suppose there's a lot of issues that come before the Agricultural Committee that I wouldn't have some knowledge of, but the organic sector I do, because I was organic farming until last year, but my son has taken over the farm and he's organic farming now. So I have been organic farming for the last maybe 20 years prior to that. And it's an area that has never grown in my view. The prices for your cattle, if you can sell, and if you're in a peripheral area like a peninsula, it's almost impossible to sell them as organic. Most of the time I end up selling them in the ordinary market. The price is poor to say the least. Secondly, the grants are poor to say the least. So like, you're really being organic for the love of organic. You're not being organic for the love of the financial retribution. I'd like to pay tribute to Nigel. I have a lot of communication to and fro with him down through the years to try and see can we raise issues of concern to try and rectify the situation. For maybe someone on it, maybe lands about 70 acres of land, you're talking about paying a license of €600 a year roughly. You're talking about paying a planner $500 a year to get your plans in order, and you're talking about getting maybe $2.5 grand. You know, it's shockingly poor money as such. And maybe a few questions, and there might be people. And first of all, I'd like to welcome the guest in here. And was mentioned earlier on, can you explain why 225, we'll say, applications are made in 2018? I met a lot of those farmers, obviously from my own area as other TDs. You know, they were exasperated. They went and done courses. Some people had took weekends out of it. Apparently, there seems to be a huge qualification criteria now to qualify as an organic farmer, rather than before just fill forms and understand the knowledge of it. But now it's a course and a course and a course. Somebody else is making $1 out of the course along the way. But the funny is, 225 applications, 110 never got in after they going and doing the courses. Why was this the case, and why were people left outside the system? Second question is there a public procurement for organic produce available through a producer group? The third question is the new organic farming scheme wasn't full, and have you any reasons as to why? The fourth question is the beef prices for organic. What's the difference? And I've mentioned that already. And this is a big one, like the factory, if you have 98% of the market, and like, can the organic sector force something through that at least people are rearing their beef cattle as such, and they get the proper and have an available market, no matter what part of the country, or it doesn't all. Some people can't be living in the middle of the country, if they're, regardless of they're the southwest or the north or whatever, that at least they have an opportunity to have an open market, and that they'll open marts. Maybe the marts should be kind of more bought into this to try and see would they have a special organic sale every 2 to 3 months or something along that line. Because in my view, it's not happening. People are selling their cattle non-organic after rearing them organic. It's very, very. Unfortunately, in my view, organic system, since I joined it 20 years ago, hasn't moved. It hasn't moved, and that's astonishing in that much time. We've had Green parties in government before and now again, and I'm very disappointed if there isn't some kind of movement very, very quick on the ground. And I'd appreciate maybe some of those questions might be answered. Thank you, Chairman.
Collins, Deputy Condon, you were looking to get, or Mr. Condon, you were looking to get in there.
Can you hear me there?
Yes, Joe. Yeah.
Just a couple of points to make. I suppose people are trying to maybe put a finger on what are the obstacles. I have some figures here. Well, 10,750 people applied for the REPS REAP pilot, and there was 317 applications for 500 places on the organic farming scheme. Right. So if you take an average mixed farm land type of farm, right. If you were in Glas, you get €5,000 per year for 5 years. That's 25,000. The admin costs for that are 2.5%. On this similar piece of land, you get a €2,000 payment per annum. That's on your organic farming scheme on the same area. It's 5 years. That's 10,000. The administration cost is 25%. So you have a factor of 10-fold cost there on that. And you have, if you look at the REAP thing, there's almost 10 times the amount of people that applied, you know, to get into the REAP thing. So you have a figure there that marries up, like we'd say, that there's definitely a problem here. In our submission, the last point we made was that there needs to be an independent review of the entire system. And I would call on the chairman here to, to instruct his committee members to push for that. An independent review. I think that even people involved in the organic thing themselves, even some of the organic bodies would probably, they would appreciate this, because the thing needs to be looked at. There needs to be an independent set of eyes brought into it, and I believe that there's a great future in it if those log, where the area is being sort of, where the obstacles are, can be released. And one of the things I would say, that beef and lamb farmers who have a business plan to direct sell their products, that they have priority access to any organic scheme. At the moment, those people, there's an obstacle to those people getting in. They don't score very high on the scoring matrix. That would also maybe answer the question where there has been reference here to a sort of a monopoly on the slaughtering of it. This would take a lot of that action away. A person would find their own butcher and sell locally at their local farmers market, or direct sell online, or whatever it is. So there is opportunities there, and I believe that if there is a review, that those solutions can be brought forward then, and instead of faulting the actions and the things that are there at the moment, find a way around them through this review, and that's my contribution, Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Condon. Just on some of the specific questions that Deputy Collins asked there, does anyone else want to take some of the specific questions that Deputy Collins asked?
Yeah, there's a few points there I would like to come back on. I appreciate Michael has first-hand experience of what our organic farmers are up against, and I think the committee should listen very carefully to what Michael says, because there's basic stumbling blocks here that are in the way of developing organic. Now, I think all representatives here probably have outlined them today, and they're major stumbling blocks that aren't going to be solved by working around the edges of the current scheme. It really needs to be looked at in great detail, and if it continues in the way it's going, it's actually going to discourage even more farmers. As I say, and as Deputy Collins mentioned, that cohort of farmers in 2018, they were all potential organic farmers and were willing to enter a scheme. 110 of them didn't get in. Well, if you put yourself in their shoes, they paid a professional to help them draw up an organic plan. They paid a certification body to certify that plan as being proper and right. They then took a huge element of their time to go and to be certified as having done organic training at a huge cost to themselves, and to be told. And fourthly, they actually farmed organically for that period from the application for something like 9 months until they were told they were unsuccessful, where they farmed organically, they purchased expensive organic feed, they started small tillage operations on their farm. It's actually criminal what was done to those farmers, and it's no wonder that we didn't get the 500 applicants this time, because I'm sure every one of those farmers told another 10 farmers around them of the horrendous experience they had. And I would feel somebody needs to get a grip with this and take some control over this and ensure that never, ever happens to a farmer again, because it would not be tolerated in any sector, and neither should it be. Now, that's what I want to say on that. I'm conscious Deputy Carthy made a couple of points on commonage land. Again, we're told by the certifying bodies that because it's commonage and there's a range of owners that it can't be classed as organic. Again, I would feel somebody with a bit of ambition could look at that and see, the reality is I'm surrounded by commonages in Inishowen. They never receive pesticides. They never receive fertilizers. They're totally organically managed in my living memory. And if this scheme cannot be adjusted to accommodate that pristine landscape that farmers are grazing to protect the biodiversity and are actually producing a fabulous product of it, there's not much ambition in our organic farming scene when that can't be accommodated. Sorry, that's the contribution I'd like to make at this stage.
Thank you.